This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, their songwriting technique, and occasionally getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. Welcome to episode 137. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is Missy Higgins. The award-winning songwriter and musician returns today with a brand new mini-album entitled Total Contorl. In today's episode, we're speaking with Missy about what inspired these new songs, the ABC TV series of the same name, and the all-female festival lineup of Wildflower. Here we go. Our guest today is a multiple ARIA and APRA award-winning songwriter and one of the most popular Australian female artists of all time. Having released her last full-length record in 2018, she's today releasing a new mini-album called Total Contorl, which is inspired by the ABC TV show of the same name. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Missy Higgins. Good morning.
Good morning. How's it going?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Good. Just I'm hoping my daughter doesn't run into the room but burst in because we're trying out a new nanny today. So fingers crossed that goes okay and we don't get interrupted.
I can imagine that it is not a challenge, but it is, I imagine, an interesting thing trying to juggle being a very well-known musician / pop star, rock star, and then juggling kids at the same time.
Yeah, it's a serious challenge. Yeah, every day I've got to do, well, at the start of every week I've got to do some serious calendaring, scheduling for every single hour. I'm like, okay, today I've got an hour of interviews. I've got to, am I going to put on a movie? But how can I put on something that they're not going to decide that they don't want to watch in the middle of it and run into me? So yeah, it's there's a lot of scheduling and unknowns. That's all right. We make it work.
Of course. We are here today to talk about Total Contorl, which is the new mini album from yourself, and I will get to that in a second, but I just want to say how very nice it is to have brand new Missy Higgins music to listen to in 2022.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's really great to have new music out. We've been playing quite a few shows lately and trying out these new songs live, and that's one of my favourite things to do. It's just so great to have new music to play every night because it's fresh and it means something fresh, and it keeps you on your toes as a musician. So, yeah, it feels really good.
The new mini album Total Contorl is inspired by, well, I think it kind of stemmed from your work with the television program of the same name on the ABC.
Yes, it did. Yeah, I've been doing it for the past couple of years. I wrote, it's a TV show with Deborah Mailman as the lead and Rachel Griffiths, and yeah, it's an Australian political drama. It's really incredible, and they asked me to write the vocals for the first season, and then the second season I kind of did it the other way around. I wrote the music and the vocals and then kind of gave it to their production team to kind of produce it all up and make it sound like it belonged in the TV show. So it was, yeah, it's been a really great project to have during lockdown because I've been able to work from home and send things to them and go back and forth and get a different scene every week and write mostly to Deborah's scenes. And she's just such an incredible actress, and her scenes were really, really intense and gritty and just full of attitude and complexity. So very fun to write to.
When did you kind of realise that, because I imagine any project like that where you're scoring or soundtracking kind of like any form of visual medium, that it's one thing, and then for you to then kind of find that this is a much bigger beast almost, if you will, that there are more songs and more inspiration behind this. When did you kind of realise that this was its own thing, not separate from the show, but kind of, that there was more to be said from yourself?
I think when I listened to the stuff that I had, and it was, most of them were maybe a minute and a half long, but just kind of the start of an idea for songs. I listened to them, I thought, these are really great. I mean, I was really proud of what I'd written, and I thought these could be turned into full-length songs easily. I mean, they already had, a verse and a chorus, so to expand them would have been really easy. So I thought I can just write another verse or two and repeat that chorus, and then do an outro or a bridge or whatever. They kind of wrote themselves really after that initial burst of inspiration for the show. And I also felt like everything that the songs touched on was really relevant to what was going on in our political climate. I mean, with Grace Tame and Britney Spears standing up and in Canberra and telling their stories, I just felt like there was so much about that story and where our culture is kind of headed and what we're kind of focused on at the moment, with women finally being heard and finally getting the courage to stand up and be brave enough to tell their stories. That mirrored the main character of this TV show, Alex Irving, because she was, she's an Indigenous woman that came from a small town and had a complicated upbringing, and she was fighting for the rights of her people and fighting against a culture that had always oppressed hers. And there was lots of things about that I felt were so relevant today. So what this character was going through and what I was seeing in the newspaper and what I know has been unfolding in Australia for a long time too, as far as true recognition of First Nations people and recognising our country's true history and being honest with ourselves about that. That's still such a process for us, and it still hasn't really happened. So there was a fight going on there, and there's fights going on in the newspaper every day. I just thought, these songs are so important right now, and there's stuff in it that is really of this moment, and it was inspiring to write about that and to feel as though I was telling stories that needed to be told.
Yeah, 100%. The mini album, it does kind of sound like there's like a fire and like a guts to it. Almost for lack of a better term. And I know that some of the content that it's dealing with is like female empowerment and themes of exploitation as well. And again, as you kind of mentioned, the whole Grace Tame Brittany Higgins thing, when you approach songwriting to these kind of songs with this kind of subject matter, do you approach it differently than you would for like something from like a previous record or like a previous kind of subject matter?
I think so. I mean, there's less of like pouring my heart out and telling how I feel, and more of a, I guess, trying to be an astute observer about what's going on and trying to, I guess, send a message, but very subtly and without trying to appear preachy. I think the best the best kind of protest songs, if you want to call them that, they do come from a personal place and from a place of personal opinion, rather than me telling you what I think you should do with your life. I'm telling you what I see and what's making me angry, kind of thing. So I think being able to write through the prism of this character from this show and kind of freed me up, because I could be as angry as I wanted and opinionated as I wanted, and because it's not really, some of it's coming from me, sure, but some of that is coming from her and what she's been through and what she's been up against her entire life. So I got to really kind of indulge that anger and indulge that that ferocity, I guess, because that definitely made the song more powerful and really kind of drove the point home. But it's coming from a place of like real fire within, rather than pointing the finger.
Yeah, of course. Throughout your career, I feel like you've always been very vocal and stood up for what you believe to be right without being preachy. I think that you've always done it very diplomatically, and I think that it would kind of be not difficult, but when you are singing about things like this, how important is it for you to be able to find that balance, I guess, between not wanting to be preachy and still being able to be like, these are what I believe in, and be convicted in what you're saying?
Yeah, it's important and hard to get that balance. It's not something that you want to do, because if anything, it just makes for a song that's kind of unpleasant to listen to. I don't like listening to those kind of songs, because I don't like feeling as though someone's trying to kind of ram something down my throat while I'm listening to them. Like, I want to be able to hear a story and hear a perspective and think that's their perspective. And if I'm moved to agree with them, then that's up to me. But ultimately, you have to make the person feel as though it's their choice, what they believe. But you're putting forth your argument. You're not going to judge them for what they decide to do, but this is your argument, and you've got to make that argument the best you can without telling them how to live their lives.
It's a very fine balancing act, and again, I think you've always done very well in that said balancing act, Missy.
Thank you. That's good. It's good to know.
The title track from the EP is a cover of the Motels classic from the 80s. I'm curious, other than the namesake for the TV show, what was the reason for picking this song to cover?
Well, the guys that did the TV show had a scene where Alex Irving was dancing in a pub, and they had the Motels version of this song playing to her dancing, and it was quite an intense scene because she was just trying to forget what was going on. But there was something a little bit foreboding about it. And anyway, they asked me if I would record my own version of it, and I jumped at the chance because I've always loved that song. I think it's such an amazing song. But it was lockdown at the time, like a hard lockdown. So I couldn't get in the studio with anybody. So I asked my friend Brendan Love from the Teskies if he could kind of help me do it via email. So how did it start? I think he and Liam from the Teskies kind of did drums and bass remotely, and then they sent it to me, and I did guitar and vocals, and we were kind of sending it back and forth for a while, and we made the track solely by doing it that way, which was really cool. A lot of songs of mine got recorded that way during lockdown, but I think that one was the most remote that we did any of it, because none of it was in a room with anybody else at any point.
How did you find, I guess, working remotely? Was it something that you had done previously, or was this the first kind of experience of, sending stuff off and then trying it back?
Millions of people have lost weight with personalized plans from Noom. Like Evan, who can't stand salads and still lost 50 pounds.
Salads generally for most people are the easy button, right? For me, that wasn't an option. I never really was a salad guy. That's just not who I am. But Noom worked for me.
Get your personalized plan today at Noom.com. Real Noom user compensated to provide their story. In 4 weeks, the typical Noom user can expect to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. Individual results may vary.
This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
I'd worked remotely a bit on Solastalgia because I worked with Pip Norman, who's a Melbourne producer and writer, and he was kind of sending me some kind of ambient beat tracks for me to write on top of. So I'd done that before, and I'd loved that because I could write in the comfort of my own home and do it in my own time, and then I could send it back to him and he'd kind of produce it up, and then he'd send it back to me and I'd do backing vocals on it and stuff. So that was really fun. But, yeah, eventually we would get in the same room together to do, some drums or some overdubs or things like that. So I think, during this whole pandemic is definitely the most extreme remote recording that I've ever done before.
Yeah, of course. The mini album sonically, I feel like it almost kind of harkens back to On a Clear Night, your second record. I feel like Watch Out gave me very similar vibes to Secret in a way, if that kind of makes sense.
Oh, yeah. I know what you mean, actually. Yeah, I think I had that thought as well. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's that sparseness of the guitar and the instrumentation, and also it's got a bit of a sinister feel to it, and a bit of kind of secretiveness. And I mean, I wanted that song to be. It was for the first scene in the first season, which was very kind of barren, outback desert vibe, and I wanted it to feel as though it was written by someone who'd been living out there for probably a bit too long, hadn't seen a human in a while, and had been harbouring a lot of resentment and planning their revenge. And Secret was written in a hotel in Minneapolis during a US tour where we were snowed in. So it definitely had that kind of, edge of the world feel to it as well, where you're kind of a bit locked away from society and probably ruminating a little bit too much on the past.
I think the way you just worded it, not even the arrangement or just the instrumentation, but like a sinister kind of undertone to both kind of appear. And I know that we've only got the record, the mini album now, and not to be greedy, I know that we discussed right at the start new Missy Higgins music, but could we expect another full-length record from you sometime within the next year or so?
Probably not. I'll be honest. It's too hard for me. It's too hard to write at the moment. I think these songs came so easily because I was given these scenes to write for, and I found that so easy to pivot from. I mean, they gave me the vibe, and they gave me the story, and they gave me the character, and I found it very easy to get inside her mind and feel her rage. And like I said, it just all felt so relevant and so timely. So sometimes there's just a bit of alchemy that goes on, that just makes songs come from somewhere else, and you just kind of deliver them. So if I got another opportunity like that, I think otherwise it takes a long time for me to figure out what I want to say and how I want to say it and where I want to be coming from. And especially with an album, you want to feel as though you have an album's worth of things to say. And I think I would if I had some time to step back from my life, but at the moment it's so hectic. It's so hectic. I just, I don't know. Life has to happen in order for you to write about it, and then you have to have a break from life to have the time to write about it.
Of course. Well, I very much do appreciate the honesty. This year, as you just said, it's not kind of slowing down for you. You are at the moment about to, I think, in the midst of one and about to head out on a second. You're headlining 2 festivals at the same kind of time, with Somersault and with Wildflower. I guess firstly, you're excited about getting back out there in front of large crowds and being able to play some shows now that the pandemic's kind of, touch wood, winding down.
Mm. Yeah, we've said that quite a few times over the last couple of years. It does seem like it's got to a point though where we're just gonna go with it. I mean, we've been playing a couple of shows every weekend for the past month or so, and it's been incredible just to get out there in front of a live crowd and be connecting with the audience in that real-time way. I think all of us have just missed it so much. The music industry's suffered so badly over the past couple of years, especially, artists who are just starting out and those smaller venues that haven't been able to open, and music workers who haven't been able to tour. And, I think all of us are just so happy to be playing again, and we can see the faces on people in the audience too, that they're just so stoked to be able to hear live music again. It's such a big part of so many people's lives that, we're very happy to be back doing it.
It is very exciting. Wildflower, I think, is, with no disrespect to Somersault, the bills are fantastic, but Wildflower, I think, is especially special because it is either the first time in a while or the first time ever where we've had an all-female lineup festival, which I think is firstly well overdue, but it's yourself, it's Sarah Blasco, Alice Skye, Casey Chambers. What was the kind of, I guess, how quickly was it to sign on to this kind of project or this tour?
Oh, yeah, I was up for it straight away. I mean, I thought that I've been thinking for years that we should do something like this. I was involved in Lilith Fair in America, and that was such an amazing experience for me. So many of my idols were on that tour, like Sarah McLachlan and the Indigo Girls. It was incredible and such a great vibe being on the road with that many women as well. It feels very timely, and I don't know. I can't quite believe that we haven't done it before, but I'm just glad that we're doing it now, and we can, I guess that we can show Australia that we have in our country so many strong, incredible female musicians, and that we can pull our own crowds. And it's nice to think that we can inspire young girls to do the same, to get up there themselves if they desire to one day.
100%. I think that the nice thing about this lineup as well is that you do have like Deborah Conway, as we said, Casey Chambers, Kate Mulhaki, Alice Skye, that there's kind of like women in all stages of their careers, if that makes sense. You've got Alice, who's starting out, people who have a few albums behind them, and then it's lovely to see just like a good scope of the female talent that we have in Australia.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, people from different generations and different kind of types of music, and I think it'll be nice for us all to be on the road together too and share stories and be able to relate to each other in that way. And I know that like some of the women who've come before me, like Deborah and Casey, they've got more experience than I do, or they've been around a little bit longer, and I'm very much looking forward to hanging out with them and swapping stories. And yeah, I'm sure we all have stuff that we can teach each other probably.
I imagine that they're going to be incredible shows, and I will make sure that we do have all the links to those festivals in the show notes of this podcast. Lastly, Missy, we would usually ask our guests what they're currently listening to, if there's any kind of record or single or whatever it may be that's taking your fancy at the moment.
Let me see. What have I been listening to lately? Let's see what's in my library. Oh, Big Thief, the new Big Thief album. It's called Dragon, New Warm Mountain, I Believe in You. Yeah, it's really beautiful. We've been listening to that in the car on tour. We've been doing very, very long drives in between each show. So, yeah, we need new albums to listen to, and we've been loving that one.
That is a fantastic choice. Very long, mouthful of a title, but great record, very long record.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's perfect for big drives.
Exactly. Missy, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today. I do appreciate it.
No worries. Pleasure. Thank you.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Missy Higgins for her time. Total Contorl is out now, and we've left links in the show notes if you'd like to stream the mini album or see her on tour. We also want to give a huge shout out to Mariam at EMI Music Australia for helping out with today's interview. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Wednesday and Friday morning, and we now have a Patreon, which you can find within the show notes of this episode. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.
Imagine the softest sheets you've ever felt. Now imagine them getting even softer over time. That's what you'll feel with Boll & Branch's best-selling signature sheets in 100% organic cotton. In a recent customer survey, 96% replied that Boll & Branch sheets get softer with every wash. Start getting your best night's sleep in sheets that get softer and softer for years to come. Try their sheets with a 30-night guarantee. Plus, get 15% off your first order at bollandbranch.com, code BUTTERY. Exclusions apply. See site for details.